The initial pain of a separation creates a vortex of confusion, and in that chaos, your instincts will likely scream at you to act, to do something, anything, to close the distance that is opened up. This is the most critical juncture, where the path to rebuilding a connection or solidifying its end diverges. The difference lies in a subtle but profound distinction that most men miss entirely: the chasm between vulnerability and neediness. Understanding this isn't just a strategy. It's the foundation upon which every subsequent action must be built. Neediness is not an emotion. It's a behavior driven by fear. It's the panic that arises from the belief that you cannot be whole without this person's validation. This fear manifests as a series of actions that, while feeling proactive, are actually reactive and self-sabotaging. Think of the man who sends a string of texts after receiving no reply. First a question, then a joke, then a concerned, "Is everything okay?" And finally, a frustrated, "I guess you're ignoring me." This isn't communication. It's a leaky faucet of anxiety. It's the constant checking of her social media, the attempts to accidentally run into her, or the lengthy, heartfelt pleas that try to logically argue her back into the relationship. Every one of these actions, though born from a place of genuine hurt, broadcasts one clear message: my emotional stability is your responsibility. This is an immense, unattractive pressure to place on another person. It feels like clinging. And the natural human response to being clung to is to struggle free. Vulnerability, in stark contrast, is rooted in courage and self-awareness. It is the strength to sit with an uncomfortable emotion without immediately trying to offload it onto someone else. It's the quiet confidence to acknowledge, "This hurts, and I miss what we had," without the attached demand for the other person to fix it. True vulnerability is an expression, not a negotiation. It might look like sending a single, thoughtful text after a period of space: "I've been reflecting, and I genuinely miss your presence. I hope you're well." The power in this statement comes from what's absent. There is no question demanding an answer, no pressure for reconciliation, no threat implied if she doesn't respond the way you hope. It is a simple, honest statement offered from a place of wholeness. It says, "I have these feelings, and I am strong enough to hold them myself. I am sharing them with you as an act of authenticity, not as a cry for rescue." The transformation occurs internally before it ever manifests externally. To move from neediness to vulnerability, you must first confront the source of the fear. Why does the thought of losing her feel like a threat to your entire identity? It often stems from a lack of a solid self-concept outside of the relationship. The work then begins with rebuilding your own sense of value independently. When you know deep down that you are a person of worth regardless of her affection, your expressions change. You no longer speak to get something from her: attention, reassurance, a second chance. You speak to share something with her, your truth. This shift is palpable. Vulnerability is attractive because it is real. It fosters genuine intimacy and trust. Neediness is repellent because it is transactional. It seeks to take in order to fill a void. She doesn't need to be convinced by your arguments. She needs to be reminded of the strong, centered man she was initially drawn to. And that man isn't defined by her presence or absence. He is defined by his own integrity. And that includes the integrity to feel his pain without letting it dictate desperate actions. The concept of boundaries often gets misconstrued as building walls or being rigid and unyielding. In the delicate context of trying to reconnect, this misunderstanding can lead to further alienation. The goal is not to punish her or to create a fortress around yourself, but to recalibrate the dynamic by reestablishing a fundamental principle of respect. When a relationship ends or pulls back, the unspoken rules of engagement become blurred. Without clear boundaries, you inevitably slip into a position where your worth is negotiated on her terms. A losing proposition that erodes attraction and self-respect. Think of boundaries not as barriers to keep people out, but as the structural integrity of your own identity. During the relationship, you may have unconsciously relinquished these boundaries. Perhaps you were always available at her convenience. You dropped your own hobbies and friends to be with her, or you tolerated dismissive behavior because you feared conflict. Each time you did this, you sent a silent signal that your own needs, time, and emotional well-being were secondary. The breakup is the ultimate manifestation of that imbalance. Now, to regain footing, you must consciously redraw these lines. This is not an act of aggression. It is an act of self-definition. It's the difference between saying, "You can't treat me that way," which focuses on controlling her, and knowing, "I won't participate in dynamics that diminish me," which focuses on controlling yourself. So, what does this look like in practice? It begins with your own behavior. A boundary can be as simple as not responding to a text at 2 a.m. if it's not an emergency. Because you value your sleep and your peace, it's refusing to engage in long, draining text conversations that go in circles, instead suggesting a calm, focused phone call or meeting in person if the topic is serious. It's gracefully exiting conversations that turn manipulative or disrespectful by saying, "I understand you're upset, but I'm not comfortable with being spoken to that way. We can talk when we're both calmer." Most importantly, it's about the boundary you set with yourself, the commitment to not chase. This means stopping the cycle of double texting, of analyzing every word she says, of making her the central focus of your mental energy. By doing this, you are building a life that has a structure independent of her. The profound effect of this is that it reintroduces a healthy tension of value. When you are always available, you become like background noise, always present and therefore unnoticeable. But when you reclaim your time, your focus, and your self-respect, you become a distinct figure again. She is forced to engage with you on terms that require more intention. This doesn't guarantee she will come back, but it does guarantee that if she does, it will be for the right reasons. She won't be returning to a man who desperately needs her validation to feel complete. She will be engaging with a man who has a clear sense of his own worth. Boundaries are the ultimate filter. They filter out the dynamics of desperation and neediness, and in doing so, they create the only possible conditions for a renewed connection to be built on a foundation of mutual respect, rather than pity or convenience. You are not teaching her how to treat you. You are demonstrating how you treat yourself. And inviting her to match that standard, the landscape of your mind is the ultimate determinant of your reality. And nowhere is this more true than in matters of attraction and connection. In the aftermath of a loss, it is the most natural thing in the world to slip into a perspective of scarcity. This mindset is a prison built from fear, and its walls are constructed with thoughts like, "She was the one. I'll never find anyone like her again," or "My chance at happiness is gone." This feeling of lack is not just a passive emotion you experience. It is an energy you radiate, and it is profoundly unattractive because it communicates a fundamental lack of self-worth. It tells the world, and most importantly her, that you believe your value is contingent upon her presence in your life. This is the psychological equivalent of handing her all the power and then begging for scraps of her attention. The antidote to this suffocating scarcity is the cultivation of an abundance mindset. This is not about pretending you don't care or engaging in empty positive affirmations. It is a deep internal shift in perspective that is built on a foundation of genuine self-worth. An abundance mindset is the quiet knowledge that you are a complete and valuable person on your own. It is the understanding that what you have to offer, your companionship, your loyalty, your unique perspective, is rare and valuable. When you operate from this place, your approach to the situation transforms completely. You are no longer acting from a fear of loss, but from a confidence in what you have to give. The question changes from, "How can I get her back?" to, "Is this connection still a good fit for the person I am and the life I am building?" This shift is not philosophical navel-gazing. It has practical, tangible consequences for your behavior. A man rooted in scarcity is hesitant, needy, and reactive. He waits for her to text first. He agrees to things that violate his boundaries just to maintain contact. And he interprets every interaction as a sign of impending salvation or doom. A man operating from abundance is calm, centered, and proactive. He initiates contact when he genuinely has something to share, not because he's anxious. He can engage in light, playful conversation without the heavy subtext of desperation. He can even walk away from a dynamic that no longer serves him because he trusts that his value will attract other opportunities for connection and happiness. This isn't about having a roster of other women. It's about having a rich, full life, friends, passions, goals, and a sense of purpose that fulfills you irrespective of your relationship status. Ultimately, the power of an abundance mindset is that it removes the pressure from every interaction. When you truly believe that you will be fine either way, you stop trying to win her back and start simply. Being the best version of yourself. This creates a space where attraction can naturally rekindle because you are no longer seeking validation from her. Instead, you are offering your genuine self without apology or need. She is no longer being asked to be the sole source of your happiness, but rather a potential complement to a life that is already happy and whole. This makes you not just attractive to her, but attractive to the world at large. It signals a man who is at peace with himself, and that is the most compelling magnet there is, the mind. In its attempt to solve the painful puzzle of loss, can become its own worst enemy. In the silence that follows a breakup, that space is often filled not with healing, but with an internal cacophony, a relentless loop of replaying memories, dissecting conversations, and searching for the one misstep that caused everything to unravel. This is obsessive thinking, and it is perhaps the most insidious obstacle in the path to recovery. It feels like productive problem solving, but it is a deceptive and destructive trap. You are not analyzing the situation. You are ritualistically picking at a wound, preventing it from healing while convincing yourself you are looking for a cure. The truth is, this cycle has little to do with her anymore, and everything to do with your own brain's attempt to regain a sense of control over a situation where you feel powerless. This obsessive pattern is a form of addiction. You become addicted to the dopamine hits of finding a clue, or the temporary relief of fantasizing about a reconciliation. You are, in essence, addicted to the idea of her and the fantasy of a corrected past, not the complex reality of the person or the relationship. Every time you scroll through old photos or reread text threads, you are feeding this addiction, strengthening the neural pathways that tie your sense of peace to someone who is no longer present. This mental activity creates the illusion of proximity and action, but it is a complete illusion. It is the equivalent of revving a car's engine while it's in neutral. It creates a lot of noise and burns fuel, but it doesn't move you an inch forward. In fact, it exhausts you for the journey you actually need to take. Breaking this cycle requires a conscious and deliberate act of redirection. You must accept that the answers you seek are not hidden in the past. The question why is a bottomless pit. The more compelling and productive question is what's next. This is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending you aren't hurt. It is about acknowledging the pain without allowing it to become the central focus of your existence. The moment you feel the urge to spiral into analysis, you must physically and mentally pivot. This is where action becomes the only true antidote to anxiety. You must drain the mental energy fueling the obsession and channel it into tangible, present-moment activities that are solely for your own benefit. The method is straightforward, but requires discipline. Substitution. When the thoughts begin to circle, you get up and you do something. Go for a run, not just a walk, but a run that demands your full physical attention. Pick up a weight and push your body until your muscles burn and your mind has no choice but to focus on the present sensation. Open a book on a topic you know nothing about and force your brain to learn new pathways. Work on a project in your garage. Clean your apartment with intense focus. Or call a friend and insist on talking about anything other than your breakup. The activity itself is almost irrelevant. What matters is that it is immersive, physically engaging, and future-oriented. You're not distracting yourself. You are rehabilitating your mind. You are teaching your brain that its energy is better spent building something new than deconstructing something old. Over time, this practice does more than just provide a temporary respite. It actively rebuilds your identity. As you invest in yourself, You accumulate small victories and evidence of your own capability. The narrative in your mind slowly shifts from, "I am the person who lost her," to "I am the person who is learning Spanish." Getting stronger and advancing at work, the obsession loses its power because it is competing with a life that is becoming increasingly interesting, fulfilling in the present moment. You break the addiction not through sheer willpower alone, but by creating a reality that is more compelling than the fantasy. The loop is silenced not by fighting it directly, but by giving your mind something better and more authentic to focus on: the creation of your new self. The journey culminates not in a grand gesture aimed at her, but in a quiet, profound transformation within yourself. By now, the core truth should be undeniable. Getting her back is not about a clever sequence of moves or a perfectly worded apology. It is a natural byproduct of you returning to and then surpassing the man you were when she first chose you. That man was not defined by his relationship to her. He was a complete individual with his own passions, ambitions, and sense of self-worth. He was the prize. The process of rebuilding yourself is the process of once again becoming that prize. Not for her, but for you. This is the ultimate reclamation of power, and it is the only foundation upon which a healthy future connection with her or anyone else can possibly be built. This rebuilding must be intentional and holistic, touching every aspect of your being. Mentally, it means vigilantly guarding the mindset shifts from the previous chapters, enforcing your boundaries, nurturing abundance, and redirecting obsessive thoughts. It's the daily practice of self-respect. Physically, it means treating your body with the respect a valuable asset deserves. This isn't just about hitting the gym for aesthetics. It's about the discipline of a consistent routine, the feeling of strength and vitality that comes from physical exertion, and the mental clarity that follows. The body and mind are inextricably linked. When you strengthen one, you fortify the other. Emotionally, it means reconnecting with the world outside of the relationship. It's investing time in the friendships you may have neglected, engaging in hobbies that spark genuine joy, and pursuing professional goals that give you a sense of purpose and accomplishment as you engage in this work. A subtle but powerful shift occurs in the dynamic. You are no longer the man orbiting her world, hoping for a glance. Instead, you become the center of your own solar system, a gravitational pull of activity, growth, and positive energy. You are not playing hard to get. You genuinely are hard to get because your time and attention are now consumed by a life that is rich and compelling. This is what sparks curiosity. When she glimpses, whether through social media or mutual friends, that you are not broken, but are instead thriving, it challenges the narrative of the breakup. It forces her to question her decision. She sees you not as a source of neediness, but as a man of substance who is moving forward with or without her. This curiosity is infinitely more powerful than pleading. The most important outcome of this entire journey, however, is that you become outcome dependent. This means that your sense of success is no longer tethered to whether she comes back. The real victory is the man you have become in the process, stronger, more self-aware, more resilient, and more emotionally intelligent. You have rebuilt your identity on a foundation that cannot be shaken by the actions of another person. If she does return, you are now equipped to engage from a place of strength, able to assess whether reconnection is truly in your best interest. You can set the terms for a healthier, more balanced relationship. If she does not, you are not back at square one. You are not devastated. You are a more complete and capable man, ready to attract a higher caliber of connection because you have become a higher caliber of man. The focus shifts entirely from getting her back to moving forward. In the end, you win either way. You have gained the one thing no one can ever take from you. It's an unshakable belief in your own value and the ability to build a fulfilling life on your own terms. That is the ultimate prize.